AI search doesn't rank websites, it ranks entities. And today I'm going to be giving away and breaking down my entire AI SEO checklist for you guys. AI search needs facts, definitions, entities, and also citations. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking it all down for you step by step. Also, if you haven't already downloaded mySEO.app, it is completely free to use. We've got a live stream today, actually, with Mihal. We've got a community in there. We've got courses, so you can come along, ask questions, free to use. So I will be using my LLM SEO or AI SEO checklist. If you haven't already, click the link down below and get it. Once you do get it, you just need to click on File and then obviously make a copy. Now, this is version 2. I have been saying in previous videos that at some point I will have a version 2, a version 3, a version 4, because AI does keep evolving, so you slightly need to tweak certain things when it comes to the actual checklist. But to me, this is probably the most up-to-date checklist. We also have other tabs in here like assets, questions, writing styles, what you should do before uploading content, etc. So you're going to get it all for free anyway. So step number 1, now I've actually categorized all of these. So the yellow section is all semantic content. So what you should actually be doing when it comes to your content writing. So the first one is obviously making certain that your pages are entity written. So each page should clearly define one main entity and 3 to 5 supporting entities. Now, typically speaking, this is just as a rule of thumb, a page will have more than 3 to 5 supporting entities. Like if you were to search Google NLP tool and click on the first result, this is Google's own proprietary system when it comes to checking NLPs and entities and stuff. So this is like the default piece of text in there. So if I just click that, it's basically going to highlight anything that is a entity. Now, an entity is basically it could be like a person, it could be a place, it could be brands, organizations, it could be concepts. So as you can see here, it's highlighted Google because Google's obviously an organization. It has highlighted Mountain View because it's a place. It's highlighted the address because again, that's a place or a location. Sundar Pichai, which is the CEO, I believe. He is obviously a person. So that is basically what an entity is. Now, if you don't have entities on your page, it's very hard for LLMs to actually understand more about your actual content. So in the actual example here, I've said a boiler installation boiler installation Manchester page links entities to Gas Safe Register, Valiant, which is a brand, and then Manchester City, which is a location. So it's really important how you structure your content as well. You want to make certain that there's obviously entities throughout your article. Then we've got using semantic triples. Now, if you're not writing in this format, you're not actually feeding the LLMs. So for example, I've said Kasra is the founder of the Masterminders conference. Now, obviously, that is a person. This is like founded and then the Masterminders conference. Now, if we actually run this through the NLP tool, as you can see, Kasra, which is deeming me as an organization, founded the Masterminders conference, which is pretty much correct. So it's actually identified that my name is Kasra and I founded XYZ conference or XYZ company. So this is how you want to write more of your content. So it just helps feed the LLMs about who you are, what you do, and who you serve as well. So if we take a look here, right, I've just added a couple more sentences. And obviously I've just said Kasra, founder of the Masterminders. The Masterminders conference is a conference for SEOs and digital marketers, June 24th to 26th. 2026, Kyle Roof, James Dooley, Corey Tugborg Goober are speaking at the Masterminders conference. And as you can see, there's a lot of entities here as well. So we've been able to create entity-rich content just by being able to mention either brands, people, dates, for example. I could have even included the Masterminders is a conference in Manchester, UK, right? It's not scary hard to include entities. So as you can see here, we have got the Masterminders is where is it now? The Masterminders conference is a conference in Manchester, UK. So we've even been able to tie it into like a specific location as well. Now, this is one thing that you're probably going to need to use Screaming Frog or Sitebulb with. But when you're doing internal linking, you never want to just do generic internal links like read more, stuff like that. You want to actually have it descriptive, so learn more about boiler service costs in Manchester. Because that's, again, it's just going to help theme that page when you are internally linking. Again, I could probably do a separate video on Screaming Frog on how to check stuff like that. Let me know if you guys want me to create a video on that. We then have building contextual bridges. Now, if I go to my website here, this is probably best explained when I'm actually showing you the case, right? So if I'm talking about technical SEO on this what is SEO page, right? People might want to learn more about what is technical SEO. So I might actually internally link to my technical SEO page. Same goes with my core web vitals page. So whenever you're talking about certain subjects and you don't think that it deserves like a huge paragraph on this page and it deserves its own page, it's probably a good time to actually internally link. That's basically what's called a contextual bridge. So you are talking about technical SEO in this section and you're talking about other subtopics within technical SEO, and that's a perfect opportunity to actually internally link to that page. Like as you can see here, I'm actually talking about content SEO, and I'm talking about search intent, and then I also have a search intent page. So that's the contextual bridges. Then we have got adding definition blocks. So if you're talking about a certain phrase or a certain way to do business, for example, on your business blog, you may want to actually include an example on like where you break it down, where you make it really simple. So as you can see, I've done it here. So can a site with bad technical SEO still rank? And then I've obviously answered that. So that's basically what I mean by adding a definition block. A lot of businesses, like when they're writing about their services, for example, they tend to write like really in depth or with a lot of difficult to understand phrases. So in some cases you want to dumb stuff down and make it easy for like a beginner. So for example, if a beginner was reading my website, some of you advanced SEOs would obviously know that a site with bad technical SEO can still rank. However, that might be like a burning question when it's a beginner SEO reading this blog article. So I want to cover all sides of the spectrum. We then want to have adding a about page or an offer. Again, as you can see here, down here, I've obviously got written by Kasra Dash. I also have got my Facebook, my Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. Now, if you're doing this for a company, that might obviously be a little bit different. This is moneySavingExpert.com, and as you can see here, this is actually linking out to Tony Fornocini. Definitely mispronounced that. But you might want to actually have like an offers page or a meet the team page, and this is where you would basically want to actually add all of your writers for your website. Now, obviously on Kasra Dash, for example, it is just my own website, so obviously I can link to my social profiles in the footer, but in some cases, if it's not just like a personal brand website, you might want to play things a little bit differently. So as you can see here, these guys, they've got like their Money Saving Expert Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, and WhatsApp down here. But then on their offers page, they actually link to their offers, LinkedIn profiles and stuff. So again, that just helps build trust. Next on the list is obviously using the implementation of schema. Now, if we take a look at this website here, for example, they actually do have profile page schema. So they're tagging everything up, like the image of the guy called Tony. They've got the Twitter account, Facebook, etc. And they've also got what job role he also has. So he's a senior insurance analyst as well. So as you can see here, it ties in together. Now again, this is a little bit of a grey one because ChatGPT supposedly doesn't read schema. However, Google Gemini in AI mode actually does. So again, this probably comes down to which AI you're trying to rank in. If it's Google, then it's probably beneficial adding in schema. If you're looking at ChatGPT, Claude, etc., I believe as of today, this might obviously change and we'll probably end up doing a V2 for the AI SEO checklist. But as of today, the only AI model that actually does take into consideration schema is, to my knowledge, Google. For me personally, I would still do schema because, again, if you can help rank higher in Google, indirectly you're going to end up showing up more often in Perplexity and Claude and ChatGPT anyway. Now, the next one is building entity hubs. So, for example, ChatGPT, Claude, actually all of the LLMs, including even Google, they do what's called query fan out, where if you search something within ChatGPT, for example, it might go and search 4 or 5 other queries to help with your primary query. Now, the good thing is, once you do actually have the sheet, I do actually have some prompts for this, but I'll show you this in very simple form. So once a user actually plugs something into ChatGPT, it goes and does maybe 5 other subqueries and gets 5 responses. And then AI pulls it all together, puts it into a single response, and that's what we see as the end user. Now, as SEOs, if we understand what all of these subqueries are, we can create articles for it, meaning that we have a higher chance of becoming the single response or being shown in the single response at the end. So this is going to be the query that I've put in. So what laptop should I buy as a student? I also do light video editing and I need a long battery life. My budget is £600 to £800. Now, the prompt that we're going to use as the follow-up is reveal everything you needed. I want you to break my question into everything you needed to answer it. Explain it simply with no jargon. Please give me 1, the smaller questions you broke my prompt into. 2, the information you looked for. 3, the topics and concepts, entities you needed. 4, the Google search terms you would use if you had live web access. And 5, a simple explanation of why you looked for each thing. And obviously, we've just got our response back in here. But this is basically going to tell us exactly which entity hubs and pages we actually need on our website. So as you can see, this is almost basically doing our keyword research and planning out our content clusters. So for example, these are some of the smaller questions it broke the prompt into. So what does a student generally need from a laptop? What extra power do you need for light video editing? What counts as long battery life for a student day? What laptops in the 600 to 800 range typically meet those needs? So this is basically combining these 3 into one question. Which parts of a laptop matter most for your use? Processor, RAM, storage, etc. Which are the must-haves versus nice-to-have? What should you avoid so you don't waste money? And then it's also gone after some informational queries as well. So typical good processors for CPUs, how much RAM is comfortable for video editing and multitasking, reasonable storage size, etc. So there's like maybe 10 different articles that we actually can write just from using that one prompt. And again, going back to what I was saying before, if you actually have got a lot of these subqueries as actual pages on your website, that can again help you rank higher in Google. So that is our building our entity hubs. We then have optimizing for sentence first extraction. Now, the days of word count I would consider as being almost obsolete. So if you guys have been doing SEO for a long time, you will understand what I mean. Maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, people would obsess over word count on their actual articles. So they would always go after like a 4,000 word article or a 2,000 word article. Now, that's kind of obsolete now because AI Overview actually prefers really short or compact, entity-rich sentences. And again, just going off of my own experience, whenever you search something in AI Overviews, this first section actually pulls in maybe like maximum 3 sentences. So you don't want your sentences to be stupidly long. You want them to be concise. So the example that I've used here is boiler replacement in Manchester typically costs £1,800 to £3,000, depending on the brand. You just want to spit out the answer. You don't want to go after like a 4,300 word article for the sake of a higher SEO score, for example, because that's actually not the case. You actually want more compact articles that are just more entity rich. This next one is more for like medical industry. If you are, I suppose actually it's for finance as well. But if you are stating something that could be factual, you want to actually link out. So in the UK, for example, the taxes increased, I think it was like last year or the year before. And a lot of the accountants, when they were stating that in their blogs, they actually then linked out to the UK government website. So again, if you're stating something that could be factual, you want to mention where you actually got that piece of information from. That way, Google can also trust you a little bit more, and you're not just stating things for the sake of stating things. You're actually backing it up. One thing on this, when you are stating facts or when you're going to be linking out, make certain if you are doing that, you actually link out to a trustworthy source. So like Wikipedia, for example, Wikidata, government websites, all of those, universities as well, they're all trusted. You don't want to be linking out to like Bob's Plumber down the road, for example. Now, the next thing is maintaining a low crawl waste. So what I mean by that is if you are using page builders, make certain that you do actually have some caching plugins. So there's a few out there like WordPress caching plugin. I think the go-to one is WP Rocket, but there's also some free ones as well. So WP Rocket, $59 a year. I believe there's also a free version of WP Rocket. Then you've got WP Super Cache as well, so that's completely free. You want to make certain that when Google or LLM bots come and visit your website, there's obviously what's called a crawl rate, which refers to how search engine crawlers like Googlebot, how often they visit your website. Now, the more often they visit your website, that obviously means that they are extracting more data from your website, which is a good thing. But if you have a slow website, if you haven't got like minified JavaScript, CSS, etc., then that crawl rate, the amount of times that they come back and revisit your website, will go down. Now, again, this goes into what I was saying before. This probably deserves its own video. But if some of you guys are technical SEOs, some of you guys are more advanced, you'll obviously understand what I'm talking about there. If you guys want me to do a separate video on that, let me know in the description. I will do. Next on the list is making certain that we actually submit our sitemap to Google. Now, if you don't know how to do this, if you go to any website and just do /robots or /sitemap.xml, you'll see something like this. If you do robots.txt, you'll see sitemap here. And if you just copy this URL, this should take you to the sitemap. Next, what you want to do is go over to your Google Search Console. Next, this is the Google Search Console. If you click Sitemaps here, and if you paste in that sitemap, you're just going to want to delete that first section. So this is our sitemap URL. As you can see, we've got 120 pages already discovered. I'm not going to submit it, but you would basically just want to click the blue button. This basically tells Google that our pages are live. You should come and crawl and check these pages out. And as you can see here, we actually have been increasing in the amount of index pages as well, which is a good thing. This is what you want. You want your indexed pages to go up, especially if you are consistently uploading more articles through to your website. Next on the list is making certain that we actually have semantic HTML5 tags. So using a squirrely bracket, article, aside, main, and section. Again, this helps when it comes to web crawlers crawling your website and understanding where your content starts and where your content ends. Now, what you can actually do is you can actually use W3 Validator and click on the first result, and you can paste in any website. So I'm just going to paste in runrepeat.co.uk, I believe it is, or .com. This is basically going to give us any errors that we actually have on our website. Now, in some cases, it will spit out errors where it might not actually mean as much, but as long as you actually have the correct tags that I actually mentioned here, it should be good to go. Again, probably deserves its own video with the screaming frog stuff, but again, let me know if you guys want me to do that. Next on the list, we actually have got acquire contextual backlinks. So we've actually never been in a easier place when it comes to acquiring or figuring out what links actually push the needle. So for example, if we were to search best running shoes for men, as you can see here, they actually give us all of the sources that they've looked at here. So we can actually get mentioned on any of these websites. Now, I've just done a search for what are the best law firms in New York for divorces. And again, all of the LLMs actually tell you where they are getting the sources from. So, for example, if I was a law firm in New York and this is a phrase that I actually wanted to show up for, I would then go out to Justia and get my business listed on there. Let's say, for example, superlawyers.com. Again, I believe that this is more of a directory style website, but again, this would be a website that I would be reaching out to. Let's just hope Cloudflare is actually working today. Yes, it is. So again, this would be another website that I would be getting my business listed on. We also have got BCG Search. Again, another directory website. The good thing is a lot of these directories, in the UK anyway, a lot of them are free. And if they're not free, you might just need to pay like a one-off. Like in the UK, Yelp is free. So if you can just get your website mentioned on there, then it's a really good move. Again, this is another example. This is on Perplexity now. So best pizza shop in New York that does deep pan. And if we take a look here, if you click assistant steps, it will actually give you the breakdown. So these are like the free searches that are actually done. So this is like the query fan out almost. And then it's also went through to 16 different sources. So again, if I decided to quit SEO tomorrow, start up a pizza shop in New York, I would make certain to get listed on these directory websites. Obviously, some of these will actually be brands, but the ones that are actually directory style sites, like for example Yelp that we saw in ChatGPT getting pulled in, those would be ones I would actually be getting my business listed on. So another thing that I would make certain that you can get your website or your business listed on is Wikidata and Crunchbase as well. So these are, again, really good structured profiles to connect your brand with. If you've never seen what Wikidata looks like, we'll do Wikidata James. We'll do LeBron James. So as you can see here, this is what like a person looks like. We can even look at Apple as in the company. And again, this is what Apple's looks like. So they've got like their logo stuff. Now, the reason why this is really important is because this is where one of the trusted sources that Google actually gets a lot of its data from, and also where ChatGPT gets a lot of its data from as well. Next is adding brand mentions with context. So as you can see here, I obviously released my SEO this month, I think it was the 12th. And if we take a look here, we can see that we done a press release, so the mySEO app, and we obviously built context around it. So we mentioned some of the brands that are actually on the app. We mentioned some of the guests, so Jason Hennessy, James Dooley, Craig Campbell, etc. So these are all entities to do with SEO, and obviously we mentioned myself there as well. So if you can do stuff like that, that can also help as well. This is also a really important thing to take a look at, is asking LLMs what is the brand known for. So, for example, what is the Masterminders conference? And if it comes back with something that is just not relevant at all, you've obviously got some work to do. Like there was a company that I looked at recently, and they thought, or LLMs thought, that it was more to do with a bakery shop, and they actually weren't anything to do with bakery at all. So if it comes back with things like this, like for example, it's even pulling in the dates of the Masterminders for next year, you're off to a good start. If it's coming back and let's say you are a plumber and it's saying that you're a gardener, then you've obviously got some work to do. One thing as well is obviously, if you do this query today and you start implementing 4 or 5 of these things out the checklist throughout the next couple of weeks, then keep a track of it, because obviously this is going to change over time. The more things that you tick off here, it's obviously going to work in your favor. Next, I would always use multiple different reference points as well. So I've said test for contextual consistency. So test over ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, and see if all of them are saying completely different things or if there's a consistency. Now, again, if you're starting to implement these checklists, you're going to actually be able to move that consistency so it's a lot more consistent across all of the LLMs as well. Next, you want to make certain that you are actually monitoring your citation mentions. So I've mentioned here brand mentions in LLM Monitor, but you can also use Google. You can actually use Google Alerts as well. So you can actually search Kasra Dash and it will actually pull in all of the press mentions as well. So for example, we've got news, we have got a lot of different stuff being mentioned about me. So again, that helps as well. You then also want to evaluate trust signals as well. So for example, if we go back into Perplexity and we take a look at this result here where we've searched for best books for entrepreneurs, and if we scroll all the way down, it's obviously mentioned these 20 sources. Now, one thing that is interesting is from time to time these actually do change. So from a trust point of view, you want to do as many searches as you possibly can and get a long list of sources to actually reach out to. And obviously track to make certain that if there's, let's say, 25, 30 sources, you're at least mentioned on 15 of those 25. Because again, if you're mentioned on most of these sources, you're going to have a really good chance of actually being able to show up in LLMs. Also, I do actually have a complete section on outreach for citations. So if you do want to use this, again, it's in the checklist and we've also got the video up here as well. And last but very not least, we actually do have optimizing for consensus retrieval. So you want to make certain that your brand is your brand's definition is repeated on LinkedIn, YouTube descriptions, Facebook bios, Instagram. If you've got a podcast, for example, you want to make certain that it's consistent across the entire board. If, say, for example, on one of your bios, it says, the Masterminders is a conference in Manchester, and then the next bio, let's say it's on Facebook or YouTube, it says the Masterminders is a conference in Dubai, then there's a lot of inconsistencies. If Google's reading these bios, or any of the LLMs is reading these bios, it won't know if you are a conference in Manchester or in Dubai or in Thailand, for example. So you want to make certain that everything's consistent across the board. So that's been my video on how to rank higher in AI overviews or an AI overview checklist. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please remember to leave a like. If you haven't already, download myseo.app, or if you want to work with me, head over to kasra-.com, fill in the contact form, and I will be in touch. Thank you for watching.